I'm really winning today. This car loves me, really. For installing a clutch, there's a couple things that you're going to need. First thing is torque wrench. We got our brake clean for cleaning the surfaces. We got new flywheel bolts, been zinc coated. Same thing with the pressure plate bolts. You're going to need thread locker. Of course, my alarm's going off. And then a little bit of grease and a slide hammer for getting the old crank bushing out. We have everything off on this engine since we're putting this car together. This was originally an engine off automatic, so this crank bushing is different than the manual. Regardless, anytime you're doing a clutch, it's a good idea to replace this. They also come in bearings as well, a little bit different on different cars, so we're going to do that right now. This tool is a necessity when doing these jobs because sometimes these are just really fused in there. All right, nice and tight. And that honker comes out like that. So the new one is a lot smaller. It's specifically for manual transmission. That's why we had to pull this out. Now I have it actually in the freezer because we want to shrink it down just a little bit. So I'm going to grab that. So just grab this from the freezer. It's nice and cold. The reasoning behind that is because due to the tolerance, it shrinks just a little bit, helps go in just a little bit easier. That way you don't hit any of the edges and scratch this up. Then we're going to tap this in here. I gotta switch sockets because this one's just a little big. All right. Perfect. Next thing we're gonna do is, this is a big one on older 90s Nissans, and this usually gets me, is this. Don't want to forget this plate. Yeah, let's see. All right, that's up. Like to have a nice clean surface for our clutch. And on some of these flywheels, like if you're dealing with Nissan 350Z or something like that where they have a crank sensor back here, you do have to time these right. So we're dealing with a 300ZX VG30, so on these they don't have that, but if you're doing this on another car, check, see if you need to time this, because if you don't do it, odds are the car won't start and then you'll have to pull the trans again. So and what I'm doing is, I didn't put Loctite on this, but this is just to hold this in place. So now I can take all the other bolts and put Loctite on them. And just snugging these up, not torquing it down. Gotta switch this guy out, doesn't have Loctite. And just save us some time, we're gonna go ahead and snug these down. Nothing super tight here. All right, now we need to torque those down. Someone want to hold this crank for me? What a guy. All right, so for this, I looked it up. We're gonna torque it down to 69 foot-pounds. Check your torque specs before you're doing this. Don't want to snap off any bolts. So, let's start at the top. Got there, John. And then we're gonna go in a star pattern, similar to just tightening your lug nuts. One more time around just to double check. Sweet, thanks, Sean. Our flywheel is torqued down. Next thing to do is going to be install the clutch and pressure plate. When you're doing this, double check. So a lot of clutches, you'll have to put the bigger side of the clutch disc towards the pressure plate. You don't want to get this flipped backwards and then bolt this against the flywheel. It's not going to work. Then one thing I like to do is wipe that down. That way we got a nice clean surface. Here. All right. Before the clutch disc goes on, I want to put a little around that bushing. Don't want that to get too dry. I love that. I actually love that. Those are some good apples. That is a sick build. You've been doing it, making it happen. Now the clutch disc can go on. Alignment tool, clutch disc. This goes towards the pressure plate. Okay. In this, it orients a certain way with the 3 dowels here, so I already mocked that up, and I think it's this way. Okay. Then same thing, go in a star pattern, don't go super tight because these threads are gonna slowly pull the pressure plate, and you got pressure here, so it's gonna slowly pull it, so don't just go cranking on one. And the torque spec on these are 26 foot-pounds to 33 on this particular engine. Everyone's a little bit different, so double check your torque specs and make sure you do torque this down. Just getting it tight when you got all this power coming through the drivetrain, it's not worth having stuff break or having issues because you didn't take the extra few seconds to torque everything down. So 29 foot-pounds. We're still going in a star pattern because even though it looks tight, we're still pulling this pressure plate towards the flywheel. All right, double checked on some of those. Pressure plate is on there, and then you're ready. Transmission time.